All right, guys, welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg, and today I have a very special guest. This is Miriam Verga. She is a member at our Westfield location. To provide some background on Miriam, Miriam owns her own interior design company. And it's funny, she had spoken to Haley maybe
Mhm.
and was kind of like, I think I could provide some eyeballs for you guys. I'd love to talk about maybe being on the podcast. You're someone who's familiar with talking to people and being on podcasts and stuff like that. And so I started to look and was like, Dave, our district manager messaged me. I was like, Dave, what do how do I weave a interior designer onto a fitness podcast? And I literally said that to you on our call.
I know you started the call with, "I don't think this is gonna work out."
She's like, well, let me kind of tell you about my experience and why I even walked in. And we were probably on the phone for 45 minutes, maybe even close to an hour. And I literally was like, Miriam, this is what we're going to talk about. We're
Yeah.
just going to talk about you and like your experience. So before we get into that, I do want to create a frame of reference from people on who you are
Mhm.
and what you do, because frankly, and I think I said this on our phone call, your lifestyle, what you do maps to the vast majority of people who are coming into our gym locations, or maybe people who are nervous about coming in. And so let's start with you. What do you do? Where do you come from? Tell us a little bit about Miriam.
Okay. I am 53 years old, and I mention that because aging does matter,
Yeah,
and we're sort of at that I'm at that age where decisions I've made or not made all of a sudden catch up with you, and you can't really escape sort of the aging at this point.
sure.
So that is my age, and I'll circle back to that in a minute. But I am a local entrepreneur in Westfield, New Jersey. We have 20 employees, pretty big firm,
Hmm.
probably the largest interior design firm in New Jersey, based locally. Um, and I was at a turning point with my health last summer, August of last summer. I really hit a wall and got some news that really made me evaluate what my next 10 years, 20 years were gonna look like. My youngest daughter is graduating high school this year. I have 4
Wow,
daughters,
that's exciting.
4 daughters, and the last one's about to leave. And this is a new time in my life,
Yeah,
empty nesting. It's a new opportunity for me to focus on myself and for me to really take back some of the energy I've been expending on other people and refocusing it on myself. And so walking through those doors was my answer to that. But I was pretty intimidated, I'm not
sure.
gonna lie. So I was 30 pounds heavier than I am today and really feeling unbalanced. And I think that's the thing that struck me the most was I was crossing the street downtown with my daughter and I grabbed her arm and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm walking like an 80-year-old. I'm grabbing my daughter's arm to cross the street because I wasn't feeling stable. I wasn't feeling like secure in my own body.
Right,
And that's not really a place like I was like ready to say I wanted to be in my 50s. I
right.
care for my mother who's in her 80s. And that makes sense to me that she would be grabbing my arm, but it doesn't make sense that in my 50s I'm grabbing my daughter's arm. But I did have a major surgery 10 years ago, 9 years ago, and I never fully felt like I recovered in my body. I had a partial knee replacement on my left knee. I never really felt like confident again, like my body was gonna do for me what I needed it to do.
Sure.
So walking through the door, um, I was very reticent. I was scared and overwhelmed and didn't feel like a gym was where I belonged. But my second daughter moved home for the year and she agreed to come on this fitness journey with me.
Oh, that's
And
right. Yes.
yes, she's been my constant companion,
What's your daughter's name again?
Ruby.
Ruby. Shout out to Ruby being mom's gym partner.
Yeah, really such a blessing to have her with me. And she's been on the same journey and we've both come so far. So it's been exciting to see her succeed, exciting for her to see me succeed. So that made a big difference, certainly having that companion. And I'm glad I had her because I was like so overwhelmed with like the descriptions and what to do next and the bar and what am I doing here? But I want to say this gym is a very welcoming environment for somebody in my situation who's
Sure.
in her 50s, overweight, overwhelmed, not feeling confident. And I can enthusiastically say 8 months later, that's not who you have sitting in front of
I
you
love that.
today.
Yeah.
And I want to talk for a minute about why this journey was so important for me, not just personally, but also professionally.
Sure. Let's get into it.
And we talked about that a
We
little
did.
bit on the
Yes.
phone,
Yes.
that I had this realization.
Well, before you jump into that, it's funny when you mention like you're doing for others. When you're an entrepreneur and a mom, that's a lot of what you're doing, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, I got to take care of these 4 girls. And if you're not running a company, you don't realize how much of a burden and how much responsibility you feel that it's like, it's my responsibility to put food on the table for these people's families. And so it's like,
Yeah.
you put so much of yourself into that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, go ahead.
No, it's so true. And I think that the weight of that has been, we expanded greatly in the last 4 years. We've been in business 15 years. We started as kitchen table designers. My best friend and I we have such great taste. Everyone loves our style. And then eventually it turned into we're running large builds on multi-million dollar homes. And we needed a level of experience and expertise that required a team and a staff. And we welcomed the challenge. We love being employers. We relish the role, but there are responsibilities in that space that I really had to come to terms with in terms of who I bring to the office every day, because that directly my state of mind directly impacts 20 other people,
Yeah.
my partner, my employees, and coming in feeling like overwhelmed and not enthusiastic and tired and flat isn't what boosts a business,
No.
and we've seen this great trajectory, and I wanna feel like I'm personally doing everything I can to bring to my business what it needs from a leader.
Yeah.
So what does leadership look like, right?
Mhm.
That's the question I think entrepreneurs have to ask themselves, and if you're not comfortable in your skin, comfortable in your body, and feeling strong and confident, that's a really difficult place to be a leader from. So I really felt like I owed it. And sadly, it was like easier to say I owed it to my employees, easier to say that than I owed it to myself, which
Yeah.
is like terrible. But
It's
that's
just the
the
truth.
female
Yeah.
mom dilemma. We're just so not good at like pouring it back in our own cup. Like
Yep.
it's just not. Some people are, God bless them. Most of the women I know, especially my generation, we're not like wired like that.
Yeah.
We weren't trained to like put yourself first and be a little selfish and, put on your own oxygen mask first. We were
Yeah.
like putting on everybody else's oxygen mask, that's our generation.
Yeah.
That's who we are. So, um, the mind game I played for myself was who do I want to be for these people? And then personally, I had a lot of discussions with my future grandchildren that my daughters aren't even really dating. So they're in their 20s. They're nowhere near this point. But I know in like 10 years, I'm going to be rocking babies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, like I got to show up for these little kids. Like I know who I want to be as a grandma. I know the activity level I want to have. I know the amount of support I want to provide for my daughters. And I would just like lay in bed at 7 a.m. or 6:40 a.m. and be like, okay, babies, I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to go work out for you. And I don't know you, but one day I'm going to tell you the story of how I became strong for you.
Yeah.
So it's all these like mind games, personally and professionally, that really like powered me into being the I guess athlete, I guess I could say.
No, no, don't just guess. Yes, athlete.
Oh my God, that gives me weird feelings to say out loud, but I'll say athlete. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Athlete.
You know who's gonna love that, and I'll get into him a little bit later, is Xavier. He's gonna be, like, listening like, "Yes, say you're an athlete."
He's been great. He's been an incredible support system to me in a really quiet, understated way.
Mhm.
Like, I wasn't looking for a gym where I was going to walk in and I was going to have like bros, no offense, yelling in my face.
JJ, look at this guy, young strapping gentlemen just yelling at each other.
It just wasn't for me. And
Yeah,
if that's the place, like I'm sure there's a place for those guys and they should find their place, but that wasn't what I was hoping for. But honestly, this was the most convenient. This is
yeah,
like 4 minutes from my house, and I was like, "All right, let me just see. Let me just find out if I can meld into the culture here a little
sure.
bit." And there was like a little like discomfort for sure in the beginning and getting used to different ways of doing things. I mean, I would say I have infiltrated this gym and it runs exactly how I like it to now. There are no men taking off their shirts anymore.
Yes.
We are just all showing up, being
Yep.
really supportive of each other.
Yep.
It's like a really friendly 7 a.m. crowd.
Yeah.
And we're pretty consistent. I've been coming since beginning of October, 3 days a week,
Yeah.
period. End of story. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m., I'm here. And I hope that that's inspiring to the other people laying in bed, being like, all right, well, I know Miriam will be there, which is, like, I think it's nice to know, like, there's some of us who are just like always here.
Yes.
And it feels non negotiable for me. Like, I've never woken up and given myself a choice.
It's funny you say that. So we recently filmed an accountability like video series on our Instagram with our general manager in Denville, Felicia. And one of the videos we filmed was on, I thought it was important to be like, we do as a company all these things to try to help keep you guys accountable. But there is an aspect of like, you have to keep yourself accountable. And one of the things we mentioned was make that time non negotiable. And then the other thing was like, find gym friends. And it sounds like, and we were talking before we got on the mics, that it was like you're like, oh, my so and so, my friend. Well, she wasn't my friend, but she is now because of the gym.
Right.
And especially that 7 a.m. crew, because it's only 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's like if someone's not there, you all know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, let's just play this out. You don't show up. People are gonna be like, where's Miriam today?
Yeah.
And so the next time you come in, it's gonna be like, what's going on? Where have you been? You know?
Well, my daughter Ruby hasn't been here this week because she's away at a conference,
Okay.
and everyone's asking me, "Where's Ruby? Where's Ruby?"
Yeah, that's
Like,
so cool.
like they all want to know where she is and checking up on her and when will we see her. And I had to check my flight, like her flight schedule as I was leaving because Arthur really wanted to know when she was coming back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
So
it's
funny.
really sweet. It's really wonderful. I mean, no one has given me their phone number yet because they know I will text them and make them come. I tell them all the time. Like, if I don't see if someone was going away for 2 weeks and I'm like, "Week 3, if I don't see you, I'm gonna find you."
Yeah, I love that. You're like you're like Haley's little, like, accountability helper. I love it.
Well, I really enjoy everybody
Yeah,
here, and it's really, like, just nice to see these familiar faces in the morning and know that we're all trying our best and feel like, we have each other's back, and I don't know, we're not like best friends, I don't even wanna say that, like,
yeah,
but it's just like those familiar faces where you just know, like, "Oh, my morning's gonna look like either gonna be some Phil, some Christina,
yeah,
some Arthur," and we're all so different from totally
sure.
different worlds, which is also kind of fun.
What I kind of as you were talking, it's like I don't know if you experienced this growing up, but, like, I did, or there were kids I went to school with, and I grew up in a small town, but, like, maybe they lived on the other side of town, so I didn't see them that much, or we weren't in the same extracurricular activities, so, like, I didn't see them that much outside of school, but, like, in school, we really enjoyed spending time together, and
Right.
we were in the same classes together, and it sounds like for you, like, that's kinda what this is,
Yeah.
hey, this person might live in Plainfield, so we're not that close, but at 7 AM on a Wednesday, we're good friends,
Yeah.
and so I think that's really cool. So I think you did a really good job, Miriam, of mapping out, like, where you were before you stepped in,
Oh,
and how
yeah.
nervous you were stepping in. And I feel like you just kind of threw it in there. Oh, yeah, I lost 30 pounds in the last 8 months. So let's talk about where you're at now. Like, you're like, I'm different. Well, how are you different? Like, let's get into some of that.
I think what I'm most proud of, and I may I'm so annoying. Like this morning I came back from the gym and I'm like flexing my thigh muscle
Yes.
for my husband. I'm like, "No, seriously, look." And he's like, "Okay." I'm like, "But no, did you
I
look?"
love that.
And he's like, "Yeah, I looked." Like,
Yeah.
"Okay." I'm like, "Do you think I'm so annoying?" He's like, "No, I don't think you're so annoying." But like I saw friends recently and they were like, "How's it going at the gym?" I'm like, "Wait, I'm going to show you." And I take my jacket off and I like show people my muscles. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really prideful of muscles at this point in my
Yeah.
life because that is longevity. That is longevity.
Yes.
And I follow the podcasts and like, I'm really interested in longevity. We have so much access to really important data points now around longevity. To ignore it is to really ignore some of the best science that we've seen in the
Absolutely.
last 10 years. So I'm really aware of it. I really follow it. And so much about women's specifically longevity is muscle.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about muscle for a minute
Yeah. Get into it.
because it's really for me about bone health. Like the 30 pounds, yay. But I'm here because I got terrible news last summer. I have osteoporosis
Okay.
and I'm young for that. Like, I'm just a baby.
Right.
I'm not. I'm 52, 53. I don't even know. But it's young for osteoporosis. And it was like pretty devastating. I knew I was prone to it. My dad had it. I had signs I had osteoporosis, but I did a bone density scan and it was clear that I did have osteoporosis in 3 different areas, osteoporosis in almost every area. So it was clear that I was on a downward trajectory.
Sure.
So when I came here specifically for bone health.
Okay.
And I wanted to outsmart osteoporosis and I wanted to fight it. I wasn't going to take it anymore. And so that's why I say like I know I have no choice. Like somebody else
Yeah.
might decide at 640 they have a choice, but my bones have given me no choice.
And especially for those babies,
I
which I
know.
think is a great frame of reference that, again, I don't want to skim over that is like we've talked on the podcast about people developing a why. And I feel like even hearing you say that, I feel that like that is a rock solid why right there. That it's
Yeah.
like for my health, for your bones and everything, it's like I need to be in here and then I need to be in here so I can actively engage with these babies that will be here at some point
Yeah.
instead of being that grandparent that sits in the corner and they're just like, "Oh, hey, grandma," and I
Right.
can't do anything.
Right. I want to be able to like really show up for them. So I went back to the doctor this recently, I guess a couple months ago, and I got great news.
Let's go.
It was pretty incredible. I improved my bone health in some areas by as much as 7%,
Wow.
which is pretty crazy. 4%, there was like my worst spot, 0%, but also 0% loss. So it's like it was a mix. It was for the most part incredible news. She was like almost crying.
Ugh.
It's like you know when you see someone win, it's just such a good feeling for
Yeah.
the doctor too. I will add that I also added like I attacked this from every angle. So I also added hormone therapy into my regime about a year and a half ago too, because I was perimenopause and I was really like in a dark place mentally, and I attribute a lot of that to hormones
Yeah.
where I just like hated people, like including my family. And my daughters were like, you actually, just so you know, don't hate us. So maybe see a doctor. So I saw my regular doctor. She was not very helpful, sadly, but I went to a hormone specialist and got great help and continued that journey. So hormone therapy has been a part of my bone strength as well. I don't want to say it's just the gym.
Sure.
I mean, I attribute a lot to being here, but also I increased testosterone.
Mhm.
I'm off testosterone onto estrogen for a while. We're sort of playing
Yep.
with what that looks like, but those improvements are so marked. Like
Yeah.
you can see like a before and an after in my bone health. And I think I'm so prideful of that.
Yeah.
Like I know the 30 pounds is so exciting and I kind of look amazing. I get it. But I mean, I'm a pretty confident person. You don't gain weight. Like I felt I'm beautiful. Like I
Yeah.
didn't need to like I was beautiful 30 pounds heavier. I'm beautiful now. I have like a lot of self-confidence about my beauty, and that's why I have 4 daughters who never had eating disorders, which is a total
That's a
crazy
win.
win
Yep.
as a mom.
But you have to I have a daughter myself, and it's like that it's sad to say that that's a win, but let's face reality, that's a win.
Yeah, and in this day and age, it is. And I really did actively never diet in front of them or demean myself in front of them. Like, I was 30 pounds heavier, and some days were more frustrated than others, but I still always was like, I know I'm beautiful. Like, look at these eyes. They're like blue as the
Heck
sky. Like,
yeah.
come on, I really like tried to and I felt good. Like, does 30 pounds, like, lighter feel better? It does, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's fun to get dressed, it's fun to feel like a more confident version of myself. I didn't expect to, find this body again at this point in my life. It is exciting, but, like, the non-negotiable for me was not the weight. The non-negotiable for me was the bones and the strength.
Yep.
So that is my why. That was like what has motivated me and is my like, well, I don't have options. Like
Yeah.
I can be heavier. why
Right.
not? You know, I can function that way, but like feeling so strong. Like today, I was, I had to like, I was watering my plants in my planter around the pool today, and I had to sort of balance across the pool to get to an out of reach planter. And I just like, I was like a little gazelle, like running across the side,
Oh,
balancing.
yeah.
And I was like, this is new. Like, this is new and this is a win. And it just feels great to feel like, my balance is back because not feeling balanced, like that is a mental mind screw up,
Yeah.
where mentally you're like, I'm not balanced. That's not healthy to feel that way. And so to be able to say to myself, I am balanced, that is like a whole body experience.
And it's so cool because it's like, you know, to be honest, for us and across our locations, we use weight loss as a means, frankly, to get people in because that's the easy thing for people to be like, look in the mirror, not feel good, want to lose weight. But our main purpose is we say that our purpose is to be fulfillment centers. And what we mean by that is we want to help what we do in the gym to help people lead more fulfilled lives.
Mhm.
And it's cool that you had that perspective pretty early on that it's like, listen, yeah, like, is it nice to be a little bit lighter? Sure, but it's not nice to be lighter because I wasn't confident looking in the mirror. It's nice to be lighter because I can bounce off the side of my pool. I don't
Right.
have to grab my daughter's arm when I cross the street. I
Right.
have improved bone density. So it's like, it's all around function. Like, what is your why? What's going to make you feel fulfilled? And you kind of spoke to inadvertently, like a lot of things that we try to do. So that's why we incorporate weight training, is because to help build strength. You mentioned longevity. I mentioned it on a previous podcast. I finished the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. And one of the things he mentioned is a major marker of longevity is like grip strength.
Yeah.
I've also heard lower body strength. And so, like, one of the things but just strength in general, the great example is like if you lack strength, right? So if Xavier is getting underneath a 300-pound back squat, right? What happens is his blood pressure goes up really high because he's moving a very massive load. Well, imagine getting that physiological response every time you stood up off the couch because you're
Right.
so weak.
Right.
And so it's like from a longevity perspective, that's why we lift the weights. From a Also from a longevity perspective, that's why we condition, is to improve how well your bodily systems function. And so that all works together. Then we have the nutrition aspect, and because it's like both to make sure you have the correct calorie count, correct macronutrient breakdown to fuel your body appropriately. Then we have the accountability aspect to make sure you're coming in. And then we're rolling out a partnership. We've started it in Sparta and it's gradually going to work its way down with a company called Optimus Hormone Therapy. And a lot of it is around, like you mentioned, being in perimenopause, is like there were some people who were like, okay, they're getting some results, but like not as much as I would expect. There's something going on underneath the hood internally
Mhm.
that we can't measure because we can't take blood.
Right.
And so it's like to have a reference, and again, it's going to work its way across all our locations to be like, hey, we've hit all our markers.
Right.
Let's have you talk to these people, see if based on your symptoms, it makes sense for you to get some blood work done. And then
Mhm.
after getting the blood work done, especially for women around perimenopause, because hormones are, not that I got to tell you,
Right.
kind of all over the place. So we have that partnership too. So it's really cool for me to hear you touch on all those things. And it's also cool for me to touch on those things because I feel like being the professional and that this is my job, maybe not, but like some people might be like, well, of course you're going to tell me that. And it's like to hear you say it, it's like, no, guys, like I'm living proof that this stuff works. So for me, it's really cool to hear that from someone who's not just doing this because they love it and they do it for a living, but because it's like, no, I've done all the steps and I have the proof to show you
Yeah.
that it works. So I think that's really, really cool.
Well, I think if people really research this and really decide that longevity matters to them, I think it's out there what you need to do.
Yeah.
It's, and this like weightlifting for women is imperative. I think there's a statistic that like if you break a hip, you have a chance you die 30% of people women who break a hip die within a year.
Yeah.
That is like I tell my friends, that's what we're going to die of. We're going to die of bones. Like our bones are going to break and that's what we're going to die of. Like if we're lucky, and it wasn't cancer and it
Right.
wasn't, um, so to not really like focus on your bone strength, I think you're just doing yourself this disservice.
Yeah.
And I think the story I want to say to people who are curious about it is if you are you know, if you are not sure that gym culture is for you, this is a great place to try that out.
Yeah.
Um, I know my coaches have really made me feel really valued and seen.
Yeah. So just to touch on that a little bit. So you credit to you, gave me a great suggestion. You were like, I see Xavier every time I come to class. So Xavier, he's one of our coaches. So he does a great job for us. He's going to be coaching at Westfield and our Summit location because he does such a good job for us. And you're like, I'd be curious if he had any questions for me or what he would say. Now, he didn't have any questions, but I did want to read you what he wrote me. So I was like, I asked him, like, do you have any questions for Miriam? And he goes, she's come such a long way from barely lifting the bar to throwing up weight like nobody's business. Barely jumping rope to getting her first few double unders and getting more comfortable stepping up on a higher and higher box. Watching her deadlift go from 45 pounds to a comfortable 120 brought me nothing but joy.
Yeah, he was so proud of me that day.
So proud. Definitely a hard worker, isn't afraid to push herself to develop a new skill. I could go on and on. What do you think about that?
Oh, I mean, he's very understated. Like he's not that guy yelling in your face, but I'll ask him a question like, "How much heavier do you think I can do?"
Mhm.
And sometimes he'll be like, "No, you can push yourself." Or sometimes he'll say, "I think you're good. Like you look good. Like
Yeah.
this is a great level for you. Like don't, you know, keep going."
Yeah.
So he's been very like helpful for me to like bounce thoughts off of. I mean, I also have my 22-year-old daughter I'm trying to keep up with beside me, so that's also very inspiring because, I don't want her to think she can beat her mom every time.
Yeah.
So, um, that pushes me too. But I think what's so great about the coaching I've received here, and Xavier is my main coach, is it's very gentle and just like present, like I'm here.
Yeah.
Like just I'm here if you need me. I'm right here. And there's not like, if you want someone constantly checking your form, that's not what you get here.
Mhm.
Not that if I looked terrible, but like I used to do like not great squats.
Sure.
And no one was ever like, you could go lower. Like,
I
but I,
got you.
I probably could have gone lower. But now I'm going so low and I look over and Xavier has like little tears in his
I
eyes. Like,
love it.
oh, look
Like
at
a
you.
proud father.
So it's so sweet, he's been nothing but supportive to me in a really understated way. And I would say that's kind of what this gym is. It's kind of this like understated like presence that if you need it, it's here. It's
Yeah.
not like, no one's like yelling at you. It's not that, we're not even like loud in here. Like I think I kiboshed that culture a little bit. Like people yell or scream. I'm like, really?
It's also 7 a.m. So it's like maybe we don't need to be yelling at 7
I
a.m.
just feel like it's still early, people. Let's ease in. Um, so it is like a very warm, gentle environment where people are all pushing themselves,
Yeah.
but at their own pace, like it is competitive, but it's not like it's like a good amount. It's the right amount of competitive for me. Like
Right.
I push myself really hard. I sometimes I even like I'm the fastest or the best at certain things, and sometimes I'm the last. And I feel great either way. I'm not like leaving here being like, oh, I hate myself. Like I was, I was last. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm never do the RX
Right.
ever. Like RX is like funny to me. Like that's not my world.
Yeah.
But for the people who are doing the RX and those are the recommended weights,
Sure.
um, they are loving that and that's important to them. And it's not to me. Maybe that'll be like 2026
Yeah.
IRX,
We'll call you RX Miriam.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But I can't stress enough that there's like really room for every kind of like non-athlete and athlete here.
Yeah.
And then like I work beside this Phil who is like one of my best work friends, and he's physical therapist during
Yes.
his day, and he's like couldn't be more in shape and incredible on the top of his game. And like today I was pacing my squats next to him or my lunges next to him. I'm like, all right, let me see how I can pace by Phil. And you know what? Kind of beat Phil. He
Oh,
took a
yeah. Take
break.
that, Phil.
He took a break. I'm like, I have like a lot of stamina.
And I just envisioned Miriam whispering, loser, like as she's going by him.
I know. And I know Phil was probably like, "Oh, queen."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I didn't break and he did, I could just feel him being like, "Oh, yeah, girl." Like, that's, like, the kind of, like, great camaraderie here. And then we were trying to do as many sit-ups as possible. And my friend Brittany was like, let's do the sit-ups together. Like, let's pump them together. You're so strong at sit-ups. I'm strong at sit-ups. Like, that'll be our thing. And so
Cool.
we like pumped out like 78 sit-ups
Cool.
together, like on pace. And not that you have to pace yourself with people. I don't want to say you have to do that, but it's nice to have
Yeah.
those little like gym partners and like, people who are at your level. And then there's this guy Nick who I don't even understand what he is squatting and pumping, and he is like such a bro, the nicest bro I've ever met. And he's doing his thing here, and Nick seems pretty happy. Nick's, he's like working hard and reaching his goals too, which is so fun to see that there's like this broad spectrum of people in here, which I think is like really speaks to the environment that so many different kinds of people can feel like this is a great gym home for
Yeah.
them.
I think it's cool for me because that's a lot of what you touched on is a lot of what we preach to our staff. But just to, if we do have any staff listening, what I love hearing you say is a couple things. One is Xavier knows you. And so if you're a coach at our facilities, learn your members so that if you see someone and it's like, great example, like he's okay being like, you know what, you're good right there.
Right,
Whereas most facilities are be like, keep going. It's like, well, what is the purpose of the workout? What are we trying to
right,
get out of this? Does she
right,
look good? Is the next rep, if you add weight, her form gonna break? So like, sounds like he does a really
right.
good job of
I'm
that.
really cautious of my form.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm 53 and I am like was so terrified, especially in the beginning of injury, because I'm on a momentum and I like didn't want to get
Yes.
like derailed by an injury and somehow lose my momentum. So I've been really like, pushing myself, but super cautious of form.
Yeah. Another thing that I think is really cool is you mentioned like the squat depth, right? And I've been at multiple gyms that are like, ugh, you're not meeting the standard. You have to squat below parallel, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what if that's day one?
Mhm.
Or, it's like, and you don't know their pre-existing injuries. And
Right.
so it's like, maybe, hey, you feel comfortable squatting that depth. Hey, let's air squat there today.
Right.
Let me build trust in you. And then as you get in better shape, then it's a conversation of, hey, we really want you to squat all the way below parallel. Because again, that is the goal. Or like, I'm just picking one movement. Like the
Right.
goal is to hit a certain standard to maximize your strength through a full range of motion. But being able to meet the person where they're at. Like you weren't, that's not where you were at when you walked in.
Right. No, I would say they almost err to the side of meeting us where we're
Yeah,
at,
I got you.
which is not bad. That's been perfect
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Um, I think maybe because I'm such a hard worker and I'm very naturally competitive. Listen,
Sure.
I wouldn't have built this business and be at the top of my game professionally
No.
as an interior designer if I wasn't a naturally competitive person. So maybe I don't need the same push other people might need, but I've never gotten that from Xavier. He's more like when I do it right, he's more like the positive
Yes.
reinforcement of, "Oh my gosh, I wish you could see that squat. It was amazing. You went so low." And I didn't even know I wasn't going low before.
Right.
Like, he was kinda talking to someone today about me, not in a bad way, but he was like, "'Member when Miriam came in, this was her squat?" And I was like, "Damn, I thought I was a lot lower than that." But there's no one here telling me I wasn't. Like, it was just like this positive thing of, "Oh, you made it through today's workout. Like,
Great
great."
job.
Because you know what? If you just show up, like, so much of life is just showing up.
Yep.
Like, just show up. Like, show up as a mom. I'm not a perfect mom. Everyone, I'm really own my errors, and you know I'm a little self-depreciating as a mother even. Um but I keep reminding myself, like, I show up. Like, that is so much of life is just showing up. And so, when on those hard days, I'm like, I don't have to do like everything.
Sure.
Like, I can just show up. Of course, once you're here and the numbers are up and you want to hit your numbers and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
But the conversation you could have with yourself is, what does showing up feel like? Like,
Yeah.
just showing up, not like finishing, not winning, not like, does showing up feel good enough that just showing up's enough?
Yeah.
And I think for most people, they are going to feel like that. Like, just coming to the workout is so empowering to have made that decision that I'm worth it. Like,
Yeah.
this is worth it. My body's worth it. My strength is worth it. My longevity is worth it. Like, I showed up.
So I just want to, before we kind of close up, first of all, you were right. You're great on the mic. You did a lot of my job for me. I was like, I had all these follow-up questions. I was like, great. She touched on that. All right. She touched on that. All right. But is there anything before we hop off the mics, Miriam, that you're like, you know what? If I was on this podcast and I was
Okay.
speaking to Miriam 8 months, a year
I know.
ago,
I keep thinking about her.
what would I want to say to her? Like, what would be something that before we turn this all off, I'm like, I'd really want that Miriam to know this.
Well, I had a friend show up last week who
Okay.
is where I was at 8 months ago.
So that's cool. Before you get into it, you're an inspiration then. So that's awesome. Continue.
Yeah. And I saw her so overwhelmed and so unsure of her body and so like feeling like this, she didn't belong. And she hasn't come back this week, to be
Mm,
honest. And I miss her. You know, I only had her for a day, but I miss her. And I know that she's like, it's too big a hill to climb. And I really want to stress, like, I was clutching my daughter crossing the street. That is where I started. The box, like, they didn't even use a box for me in the beginning. We used a 45-pound weight
hmm.
because getting up and down off of that was like so scary for me that that was enough for me. Now I'm like jumping on the 16. No, I'm jumping on the 12, stepping on the 16s, which
Awesome.
that's like so cool for me. Like, I love that for me. And that's not like some people are on the, the 24s. Phil's on the 24s jumping like he's a bird. But that's not my story. So I think like I would say like there is a place for you, whether it's here or whether it's somewhere else, like just committing to yourself and allowing yourself to stink in the beginning and be overwhelmed and be the last one and not get like just just decide you're in it for the long game. Like,
Yeah.
just decide, like, okay, a year from now, I'm going to look back on this. And if all you did, like me, is get from a 45-pound, you know, barbell to a 12-inch box, I feel freaking great about that.
Yeah.
So if that's all you do, you're going to feel this good.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to feel amazing. So I would say, like, just start. Just show up and start and believe in the process. Believe that there will be improvements, that you don't have to see them daily, you don't have to see them weekly, that they will mount and mount and mount, and those improvements are there for the taking.
I love that. So as we go to sign off, I also want to shout out Haley, shout out her whole staff. If Miriam is an example, you guys are doing a really, really great job. So wanted you guys to know that. Thanks for taking the time, Miriam.
Oh, it was my pleasure. And again, I just want to mention my company,
Yes.
Mimi
Sorry.
and Hill in Westfield, New Jersey. We are a design firm, design team. We do builds and renos, and shout out to my team.
So it's Mimi and Hill.
Yep.
So Mimi and Hill crushing it. 20 employees, one of, if not the biggest interior design company in the state of New Jersey. And so we have a bunch of gyms in New Jersey. If you're at one of these gyms and you need to do an interior renovation, reach out to Mimi and Hill. They'll be able
Or
to
follow us on Instagram.
that's it.
We have a fun feed, and it's me on there. I'll chat with you.
I love that. As always, guys, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Chris.
Like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram. Give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you listen on. We'll see you at the gym.